Have you ever felt utterly numb after a loss, like life's colours just faded away? This is David's story, and his world is a constant drip, drip, drip of grief. Watch how a simple leaky faucet becomes the key to unlocking his frozen emotions, and discover how even in the deepest pain, there's a path toward healing and hope. For 6 weeks, David's life had been a silent, grayscale movie playing in his own quiet house. Since Emily died, the colours of joy, sorrow, anticipation, all the feelings that once painted his days had drained away. Every morning he would wake in the dim room they had shared, not quite ready to face the day, but determined to get through it, one small step at a time. His world was numb. Food passed through his lips but never surprised his taste buds. Television shows flickered on the screen, but the images slipped right past him like shadows on a wall. The house held an unnatural stillness, broken only by one tiny, persistent sound. The leaky kitchen faucet mirrored the slow, steady emptiness settling in David's chest. Small, relentless, and impossible to ignore. For weeks he had ignored the faucet, telling himself it was just a drip. Fixing it meant acknowledging the noise, the disruption, much like allowing any emotion to seep through his protective numbness. He deliberately avoided opening that door because once feelings started, where would it end? But the drip grew louder in his mind than anywhere else. In the wake of his loss, even silence felt loud. One evening, as the steady plinking echoed off the bare walls, David realised the noise was driving him mad. He needed a distraction, something to pull him out of the fog, even if only for a moment. He shuffled to the cabinet beneath the sink, eyes landing on his old toolbox, the one Emily had admired years ago for his handy spirit. It was rusty but filled with familiar tools. He pulled out a wrench, turned on the flashlight he found in the drawer, and crouched down to the damp, shadowy, under-sink cavern. The bolt on the faucet's base was corroded and stuck tight. David gripped the wrench with trembling hands and tried to loosen it, but it wouldn't budge. Bubbled up inside him, sharp and raw, a feeling he hadn't allowed himself in weeks. He pulled harder, digging in every ounce of his strength. The metal groaned under the strain. Suddenly, his wrench slipped. His knuckles slammed painfully against the cold pipe. The impact jolted through him, a sharp, undeniable pain that cut through the grey fog like lightning breaking a still night. He gasped and rubbed his throbbing hand, feeling that physical sting more vividly than any emotion lately. And then, as if a dam inside him had been cracked open by the pain, the numbness started to crack. His chest tightened. The tension in his throat grew unbearable. Unbidden, tears began to pour, unfiltered and unrestrained. He collapsed against the cold tile floor, sobbing. Louder, deeper, and more ragged than he ever thought possible. The sobs weren't just for his wounded hand. They were for Emily, for the years they'd spent together, for the lonely house that no longer echoed with laughter, and for the years ahead that felt so uncertain. Each sob unlocked a memory, a pang, a flicker of the love he thought he'd lost forever. The small kitchen faucet was still dripping, but David no longer heard it as only an annoyance. To him, it was now a reminder, a steady, ongoing beat in a symphony that included sadness, love, pain, and healing. As the tears slowed and the evening shadows deepened around him, David sat up and looked around the kitchen with new eyes. He felt raw and exposed, but incredibly human again. The numbness that once shielded him had given way, not to ruin, but to the start of a slow, painful and hopeful process, grieving. He wasn't healed. Not yet. But he was no longer hiding from his feelings. And that, he realized, was the first step back to life. The next day, David went to the store to buy a new faucet. He found one that he liked, a simple design that would look nice in the kitchen. When he got home, he carefully installed the new faucet, making sure it was secure and wouldn't leak. As he tightened the last bolt, he felt a sense of accomplishment and pride. He turned on the water, and it flowed smoothly and silently. The silence was no longer deafening, but peaceful. David knew he still had a long way to go, but he was finally on the right path. He smiled, knowing that Emily would be proud of him.